Nobody brought up that email.
One day, I get this email on the Navy's secret network. The title of it is Urgent Safety of Flight Issue, all caps. The body of the email said, if any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having numerous near midair collisions, and if we don't stop it, we're gonna have to cancel the exercise. And attached to the video was the now famous Go Fast video. So I knew right there, that was something not ours, not human. But the next day, that email was wiped from my computer.
I mean, how did you get involved in this whole UFO, UAP thing?
Right. So I've said this story before, but it's worth going at again. First off, as I mentioned, I was a superintendent of the Naval Observatory, so I understood how big the universe was, and I was open-minded to that there could be other life outside of the Earth. And then, as a one-star, I had actually two jobs. I had a Pentagon job, and then I also was an operational commander. So there's a one-star job in Stennis Space Center, Mississippi, called the Commander of the Navy Meteorology and Oceanography Command. And that's all the folks that did what I did. So there's enlisted aerographers that do weather forecasting on aircraft carriers and shore stations. And there's other folks that, again, advise for anti-submarine warfare. And so all these, about 3,000 people, civilians and uniformed, do things like ocean mapping, weather forecasting, ocean forecasting, and I was in charge of them all. And so I'm in my office that one day. So I was splitting time between the Pentagon and DC and this office in Stennis. And one day I get this email on the Navy's secret network, SIPRNet, and it's from my boss's operation officer. I was reporting to a 4-star Admiral, U.S. Fleet Forces Command. His operations officer was a 2-star. And the email was sent to all the subordinate commanders. This is at least 20 flags and SESs. All the deputies are copied on it. And the title of it is Urgent Safety of Flight Issue, all caps. And the body of the email said, if any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having numerous near midair collisions. And if we don't stop it, we're going to have to cancel the exercise. And attached to the video was the now famous leaked Go Fast video. You know it, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the UAP, F-18 pilots captured video of this UAP zorching over the water. There's no flight control surfaces or propulsion means that are visible. It's just a little round sphere. And then the pilots are all going crazy, and other videos have mentioned how there were multiple ones out there. And I knew right then and there that was not ours. We don't have technology like that. I was read into a lot of SAPs, to the best of my knowledge, and we would never do that in a training range. Especially aircraft carrier workups are so compressed. They have to do all these things. The pilot's got to get certified. They got to land so many times on the carrier. They got to do all these things and certify to go deploy. So throwing out advanced technology in a training range during a pre-deployment workup just doesn't happen. I mean, people will get fired. So, and of course, we have testing ranges to do that. That's of course. So I knew that wasn't ours. I also had been read into all the threat, our adversaries' capabilities. I knew that nobody else had that. And so I knew right there that was something not ours, not human, off-world, whatever. It just wasn't ours. And my deputy and I were both open-minded. He was an SES, and I pulled him over, and we've talked about it for a while, and we're just pretty much amazed. But the next day, that email was wiped from my computer and my deputies and everybody else. So, okay, it's gone. Wow, I wanted to save that thing. It was interesting. And come to find out, I go to monthly meetings at my boss's headquarters in Norfolk. And we always talk about, staying up with the training cycle, and safety issues always came up. And this was a big safety issue. The ops officer said so. And so, and my job as the chief meteorologist in the Navy, another one of my hats, was safety of flight. And so we get into the next monthly meeting, and no one brings this stuff up. No one's talking about it, about a safety issue almost canceling this major training event. And then you come to find out, one of the pilots flying during those missions, that video was from the USS Theodore Roosevelt's Air Wing. It was Ryan Graves. He's pretty well known now as somebody who's come out, and he's founded an organization I'm on the board of called the Americans for Safe Aerospace, and he's advocating for, with draft legislation out there, to instill reporting protocols for pilots and the FAA, commercial pilots and others by the FAA, because currently there and pretty much the Navy, if you come out and say, hey, I saw these things, it could be a career killer.
Yeah.
And I'll just, one more point about that. So I couldn't say anything at the time. And by the way, so it was wiped from my computer. I had been read into SAPs and I knew, oh, okay, this probably was connected to a SAP that the ops officer did not know. And the intelligence officer, one of the intelligence officers probably found that email and said, oh, shoot, and contacted whoever owned it, which was probably DIA. And they did their forensics and took everything off the system, whoever it was, I don't know. But I had been read into enough SAPs to know, oh, that probably happened, and that's why I didn't have it, and that's why no one's talking about it. But it bothered me, Shawn, because, and now that I talk with Ryan, I realized, holy cow, lots of these things were in the airspace. They were interfering with operations, and they were a safety issue.
How many?
I don't know how many, but there were... At one of the gimbal recording, it was another one from that period, and you can hear one of the pilots say, "There's a whole fleet of them." So I don't know, but there were a lot, and the pilots were seeing them all the time. And what gets me is that commanders like me, once admirals, who are in charge of the well-being, responsible for the well-being and safety of their people and their forces, they were basically forced to turn a blind eye because of some overclassification issue and make the pilots mitigate the safety threat on their own, which is feckless to me. We should be stepping up as flags, as leaders, and saying, all right, let's address this here. Let's talk about it at the 4-star meeting and make sure we don't have to cancel exercise or see pilots fall out of the sky because of interactions with these things or avoidance maneuvers that again. So that's why I've come out and been an advocate for what Ryan's doing.
Nobody brought up that email?
No. Well, and that's the thing, is that we all knew, okay, someone just touched a SAP and they got rid of it and we can't talk about it. Think about that. So we could have had planes falling out of the sky, but we're not going to talk about it because of this overclassification, that's what's, there's a lot of unethical aspects, I think, of this whole UAP system that exists right now in the government.
Man, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That somebody, how high up does this go, do you think? These people pulling the strings saying, get rid of that, take that email out.
Well, I don't know.
Send out this disinformation.
Yeah. I don't know how high it is, but obviously AARO's last report, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in the Pentagon, was so deliberately false that obviously it's, and they had to approve it. So it's got to be pretty high at the SecDef, and I would say certainly the NSC level. Probably ODNI. Avril Haines, I'm sure, had some decision to say, nope, we're not going to talk about this. And same with Jake Sullivan, the NSC, I'm sure. Because there's so many people clamoring for it right now, and it's getting so much media visibility. So it had to be up at that level. I don't know about the president, but probably the NSC director.
Man. Managing a household, especially with kids, is no small feat. I totally get it, and that's why I've made sure my family has a plan in place if something unexpected ever happens. But what about you? Do you have a plan to help protect your family's financial future? Don't worry. Fabric by Gerber Life can help. Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done today. Made for busy parents like you, all online, on your schedule, right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. Fabric has flexible, high-quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Fabric also has free digital wills, tools to invest in your kids' future, and more, all right from your phone. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/srclips. That's meetfabric.com/srclips. meetfabric.com/srclips. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. As a oceanographer and all the different things that you've done for the government, for the Navy, for the country, why are you focusing on underwater stuff?
Yeah, well, first off, we know we see them in the water too. The last example that I saw was from the USS Omaha off Southern California, a well-known video that Jeremy Corbell, one of the UAP media types, has gotten out there. And and there's other examples too. Classified examples I can't talk about, but confirmation that we see these things underwater. And I can tell a story about a submarine officer who came out to me too. But so we know they're in the water, and that's my thing. I've done a whole career of ocean science, and so it's what I know, and it's who my network is. So, and now I'm on 2 national bodies that advise on ocean research, and I'm trying to get UAP studies into their research priorities. One reports to the White House, and one's within the national academies. That's why. It's what I know, and I know they're in the water, and we're never going to have a full understanding of what the nature of UAP unless we look in the water too. So that's what I can bring to bear on this whole discussion.
How many encounters have we had of UAP, UFO activity in the water?
So I don't know. I mean, there's a couple books out on it, and all of them, I think, really lack data. They're mostly anecdotal with interviews of people. One of them is by a guy named Preston Dennett, and it's interesting because he looks at the hotspot phenomena off Southern California. And then there's an older book by a guy named Carl Feint who something called, I think it was called UFOs in the Water. And he also just compiled a wide range of cases, just interviewed people. And so there's a lot. There's several hundred in those. And then Richard Dolan, who's a pretty well-known UAP researcher, he's finishing up a book, and I've seen the draft. And he's got about 600 cases where he's looked at all the books and sources that go back from the 1700s. So I think there was there's some interesting cases in that book, but ultimately it's a lot less than we've seen in the atmosphere because the ocean's not as transparent. But it's worth looking at again because there may be more going on than that amount we know to have existed.
Let's talk about the Submariner.
Yeah, this is a good story. So as I've come out, if you will, or I've been speaking out. And I am what I am. I have the scientific background as an authority on these topics of ocean science and exploration. People have looked to me and said, I bet if I tell him, he seems like a straight shooter, a credible guy, I guess. And so a submariner came to me, and virtually and he just said, hey, I was on a sub in the 80s. I'd like to talk to you about what I saw. Okay, yeah, let's have a call. I got on a call with him. He was a nuclear submarine officer. Now he's an engineer, and I think for an energy company. And this guy is like most nuclear submariners I know. He is just the facts. He is by the book, very much that way in his personality. And the story he shared with me was this. He's in the North Atlantic in the 80s. Cold War is hot, and their sub's operating, I wouldn't say super deep, but it was very high sea state because of a storm, 40-foot waves, so they were below that. But even there, they were kind of rocking. Subs can feel that wave action. And so because it was so rough, it creates a lot of ambient noise. And in those conditions, it is really hard to passively detect another submarine. So they felt pretty secure. They weren't going to be detected by a Russian sub, and they probably weren't going to hear one either. And so he's on the watch, and all of a sudden, they get a passive hit, a contact that's moving, off the starboard at some range. I don't know the range, but then it paused and then started closing on them rapidly, and they call that constant bearing decreasing range. And you don't want that when you're a ship driver or a sub driver. I drove ships, aircraft carriers. I was a deck watch officer. That's going to be a collision. And they had, that was every feature that a Russian torpedo would have in terms of the constant bearing decreasing range at a very rapid rate. And they were so convinced, he called the captain of the bridge, they set general quarters and they dived. And it kept on coming and it kept on coming. And they were hoping to get below some acoustic lens or whatever that wouldn't be able to find them and lose track. And it just kept coming. And so they went as deep as crush depth, just above it. Crush depth is that depth that a submarine will implode. And that's a dangerous place to be on an older sub like this. But they were convinced this was a Russian sub coming at them. And then at some range close, I don't know what, it paused. And then slowly took station on their stern behind them and trailed them for a while. So they're getting this passive acoustic hit of something doing this. And then after minutes maybe, it just rapidly departed the scene. And they couldn't, there was no explanation. The Russians didn't have technology like that. We didn't have technology like that. And again, to this day, he doesn't know. I want to get that data. The data is collected and archived at Johns Hopkins University. And I'm in the process of reinstating my clearance, and I want to look into that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of examples like this?
So I don't know, but I have talked to one other submariner, nuclear submarine officer, who says that he's not seen that before, but when you go around the Navy and talk to other sonar techs, they say they do see these quite often.
Really?
Yeah, and this guy's very credible. He's actually a reservist, and his day job is he works in the Pentagon.
All
as a civilian.
Attracted to nuclear subs?
I don't know. But this is an interesting thing, and I wrote a paper about this called Beneath the Surface. We may learn more about UAP if we look in the ocean. It's on the Soul Foundation's website. And I write about that because we know, and there's a book on this, that UAP seem to be attracted or active around nuclear sites. Is it because that submarine had a nuclear reactor and had nuclear armed missiles? And what about the Nimitz and the Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carriers? Is because they're nuclear powered? Maybe is that attracting them? I don't know, but it's a very interesting correlation.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.